Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm going to call the spiritual honeymoon period. This is also known as ego transcendence, and as one of my teachers once called it, a peak in the tent. So before I get into that, if you get something from this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up, a like, a heart, depending on where you are. If any questions come up or you've experienced this yourself, I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And then if you enjoy this kind of spiritual related content, please become a part of the community. Follow me on Instagram, like my page on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to help support me financially making these videos and getting the word out, please check out the links in a video. You can contribute one time, or if you'd like, you can contribute on a monthly basis by becoming a patron on the Patreon page. And so again, all those details will be down in the link below. And a great way to think about this is yes, you're helping me, but you're helping the community. You're paying it forward. So if you contribute, you're allowing someone who cannot contribute to have access to these videos. Making these videos is not free by a long shot. I have to invest quite a lot of time, energy, and money into the equipment that allows me to share this with you and to share it with others. And so if you have the means, then you can help support those who don't have the means and are still getting access to this, because this is free for everybody. It is completely gift-based, donation-based. Okay? All right. So let's get into our discussion. So the spiritual honeymoon, also known as ego transcendence, also known as a peak in the tent, as one of my teachers once put it, is something that many people on a spiritual path experience. Some people experience it even though they're not on a spiritual path. Interestingly enough, it just can happen to them. So this can happen to people spontaneously. But many people experience it after a retreat. And some people have more than one. So don't think that it has to be a one and done. Some people have an awakening, sometimes very early in life, and then later, again, it may happen spontaneously, and then later they get on a spiritual path and they have another awakening or honeymoon period. So the honeymoon period is very often a period, it can last maybe even as short as a few hours, or it can be a very brief period of time. But for me and for many people, it lasts weeks, sometimes months. It can kind of come and go for a while. And what is happening is we are, due to spiritual practices or maybe a bump on the head or a change in our life circumstance, maybe we find out we're ill, we have a change in perspective that allows us to transcend the structure that I'm referring to called the ego. So the ego is basically a loose conglomeration of thoughts and feelings that create a sense of a separate self. And that sense of separate self causes us to suffer. So when we temporarily transcend our ego, we can feel really blissful and really peaceful for a long period of time. And so again, weeks, months, we get this sense of euphoria. Many times we might feel like, wow, I got it. I really got it this time. Everything is clear. I don't have a problem in the world. I'm okay with people as they are. I'm okay with myself. I'm okay with the world. I'm just happy to be here. It really is a beautiful period. It is sort of like falling in love. It is like being on a honeymoon, or if you've been away from a loved one for a long time, there can be a really blissful experience that happens there. So from a technical standpoint, what is happening is that mind structure that we call the ego has been transcended. The ego has not disappeared. It has not gone away, but it has been transcended. Another way of thinking of it is sometimes with spiritual practices, it's like our ego gets unconscious. It gets knocked out for a minute. It's disoriented. It doesn't know, it can't use the normal thoughts and fears and ideas to create a strong sense of separate self. And so our sense of self begins to expand. And in that expansion, we are really coming closer to the truth, and we are, again, experiencing the bliss, the love, the joy, the peace that comes with seeing the truth. Now, that's all fine and good. That's not a problem. It's a great thing when that happens. But what happens to most of us is because the ego structure has not been completely wiped out. It rarely is in these honeymoon periods. For most people, this does just not happen. We have the honeymoon period, and then what happens is the ego sometimes uses the spiritual awakening, the honeymoon period, to reformulate itself, creating what we call a spiritualized ego, or it simply eventually finds the ways in which it can reformulate itself using our life circumstances, our children, our job, things that we have fears around. It will start to use those to reformulate itself. And so the nice thing about these transcendent experiences and the way that I recommend that you look at them, if you've had one, and not everybody does, it doesn't mean you're not awake, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your path, it's just a different path. But if you've had one of these awakening experiences, these honeymoon periods, then the way that I would encourage you to look at it is that is a preview of what your life can be like if you continue with your spiritual work and journey. And a bad thing that can happen, and this happened to me, is you have one of those, and when it stops, you think you're doing something wrong. So while it's happening, you think you're doing something right. You think you've figured something out. You think that you're the big spiritual person because you're reading Buddha and Christ and you just get it. You get it. You understand all of these scriptures. You're like, yes, oh, I get this. And you listen to spiritual teachers and you're like, yes, I understand that. And then it stops. And then you're like, I remember reading this and understanding this, but now it doesn't feel the same anymore. And I remember feeling really blissful, but now I don't know that I feel so blissful. And so again, a big mistake, and this is again ego, is I had it and now I lost it. A better way to look at it is I had a preview of the final state. I saw what it was like to be above my ego. So again, if you think of the ego as a cloud cover and you climb up a mountain and then you're looking out over the cloud cover, you see the clear skies. You see that the sun actually is shining. But it's not possible for you to stay there right now. You need to come back down to earth, to reality. And then over time, you can clear up the confusion, which is the clouds. You can clear up the ego structure, the fear, the separation. And then once that's cleared up, eventually you see the skies and the sun more and more often. And again, this has been my experience, and I've been living with spirituality as a very active part of my life for many decades now. So I came to it at a relatively young age. I was in my early 20s when I encountered serious spirituality, not religion and not good time spirituality, but really serious spiritual work. And it really transformed me. It gave me one of these awakening experiences. But as I said, I made the mistakes. And so I'm hoping to share that with you. So you have one of these honeymoon experiences, use that as inspiration to continue your work, to continue to clear up the confusion, to continue to transcend and work through your fears. Now, I don't want to make this sound like a simple task. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, just keep doing your asanas and your yoga postures and all of that's going to happen. Usually that's not the case. And usually we do need to develop a relationship with a teacher. I'm a teacher who could help you with this, but there are others. So don't be afraid to look for one, especially if you cannot be in relationship or contact with me for whatever reason. There are probably teachers locally where you are who can help you with this work, and you can be very upfront with them about what it is that you're looking for. But most people, certain things can be prescribed across the board, like meditation, but many people will need more specific one-on-one work to really go the distance and really clean up all of the confusion. And the thing I'd like to share with you and impress upon you is it's not that important that we think in terms of goals, like I need to clean up all the confusion right now. Rather, what I'd like you to focus on is that life is becoming more and more peaceful, more and more joyful, that you are filled more and more with love, and you are able to share love and compassion with those around you. These are the things that we want to look for. And so if each day, each week, each month, each year, each decade, I am more loving, I am more forgiving, I am more compassionate, I am more full of joy and peace, I look forward to the next moment more and more. I'm not obsessed with the past. I'm not simply looking forward to the future and suffering through this moment. I'm actually enjoying this moment. Then this is what we're looking for. Whether or not we're able to completely clear up all the clouds, I don't even know if that's possible. I don't even know if that's desirable, to be honest with you. I think maybe to live a human existence means having some of that dark and light, yin and yang, in our life keeps it interesting. So who knows? But whether or not we still have ego that needs to be cleared up or not, it doesn't prevent us from experiencing the joy of our true nature and from enjoying this human experience in life, which again has a lot of contrast in it by nature. So again, use the spiritual honeymoon, use your peek in the tent or the preview, like I like to say, as inspiration to do the work necessary to seek out a teacher if you need one, and to work with her to help you really clean up as much as you can and wake up as much as you can, and to continue progressing. And again, the way you know is this increased feeling of lightness, this increased feeling of joyfulness and of love, and the people around you experiencing that and feeling that. All right, I really hope you got something from this talk. Again, if you did, there are ways that you can help me, from as simple as giving me a heart or a thumbs up, subscribing, commenting does help. Even if you just say hello, that is helpful. And then again, if you'd like to be even more active and help support myself, and by doing that, the community, you can pay it forward by donating, making a contribution financially. That helps as well. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.